Hi everyone. Due to pandemic, we are witnessing now our educational landscape is changing totally into digital. Without physically meeting students, we are to learn new ways to make sure our students are active in achieving learning outcomes. Topic in this research is about learners' engagement in Korean language learning online, and I've teamed up with our beloved Dr. Hanim, who is our research evangelist, and also who is the one really carried me out from my comfort zone. And we thank Mr. Kyung-soo, the managing director of Korean Tourism Office, being our research partner for this symposium. I will begin with theories related learners' engagement in online learning, then research method, findings, and ending with some implications. Goal of language teaching is to develop students' communicative competence. This idea of communication is one of foundation of socio-cultural theory in learning language. Vygotsky, who is one of the early socioculturalists, with his famous notion of ZPD development, he viewed the social interaction plays an important role in the learning process. This social interaction theory was reviewed in the distance education, and one of early researcher is Moore, who identified these three essential interaction in distance learning: learner to content, learner to learner, and learner to instructor interactions. And Hillman and his co-researchers later added one more interaction which called learner to interface interaction, and highlights the importance of teaching students how to use the technology, especially when technology is embedded and impacting all the element of distance learning. And another theory emerged in social interaction study is about a notion of the presence. The Garrison and with the other researchers highlights presence in online education settings and apply that notion into a community of inquiry model, which was from John Dewey 1959, and they renew it into online community inquiry model. And the online community inquiry is viewed in the relationship between these three elements of presence: cognitive presence, social presence, and teaching presence. And this presence also reflects the Moore's triad of interactions. This is the diagram originally from Garrison, and I colored and combined with three type of the interaction from Moore, with little icons here in each related presence. This conceptual framework became really popular as a parameter of both online learning and teaching. I found it is very helpful in designing and in understanding research in online learning. And one of contribution that Garrison study is showing us how each one and another interrelated, and I will show you this. And cognitive presence is a student's ability to construct knowledge and understanding both individually or sometimes collectively using sustainable communication for better understanding of content. And teaching presence is the teacher's ability to set the curriculum, organize the course, and they are directly impacting the cognitive presence. So teachers are the one really regulating the learning of the students and making sure students go through the process in order to get knowledge and contents and materials, and also participating in meaning making. The last one is social presence, which refers as students do together in the course, not being isolated in online learning. Nowadays, with all means of technology, they can easily interact using video or audio during class or after class. When students highly engage each other, they associate themselves as being part of group and experience a sense of belonging. Also aware maybe the other real people with their own unique thought or perspective while they are involving in learning process. So, and important in this relationship between social presence and teaching presence. Social presence is interaction between students. However, it is the teacher who set the climate that really allows students having opportunity to show real personality and to feel comfortable to communicate naturally in the learning environment. So in this part of setting the climate, a teacher also have a type of social presence. The teacher should be model behavior as what Vygotsky suggested. It can be sometimes more important than the students' social presence. And Garrison said that certain level of social presence is a prerequisite for cognitive presence for high level of learning to occur. When students understand each other and also they are comfortable to communicate together, they will do sustainable communication for better understanding of the content. That's the real contribution of the Garrison's team made with this social presence. Visualize the concept of learner-to-learner engagement and show how interrelated with teaching presence and cognitive presence. So when all these three presence are together, that's when students are going to have the best educational experience. So a lot of time, online environment, we ignore this social presence and focus on more content and also content to learner to content interaction. We also need to remember we have to design social presence in our courses in order to have a high level of cognitive presence. In this study, we just focus on only the social presence, looking into this learners' engagement and came up with these two research questions. The first one is how does learners' engagement influence the peer community in online learning? And second one is how does learners' engagement provide peer support on online learning? The instrument of the research is a survey questionnaire adapted from Martin and Bollinger. Section A has 3 demographic questions, and Section B has 6 items of the 5-point Likert scale questions on learners' engagement. And we conducted reliability test on the 6 item. The Chromebug Alpha shows that it is reliable. For the subject, we chose King Sejong Institute because it is a reliable source of Korean language education with qualified instructors and teaching materials. And secondly, because Korean classes are offered as free of charge to anyone in Malaysia, so the group of learners representing the general individuals. And lastly, because this institute has implemented all the classes to synchronous online class. And we have collected data for 1 week from March 26, and 6 students were responded and completed the online survey. We calculated the mean score of each questions for data analysis. Okay, before finding of the survey, let me briefly introduce King Sejong Institute Foundation. It is the Korean Central Public Institutions who promoting Korean language teaching and learning overseas, and it was established in year 2005, responding to large, consumers of Korean Wave. It is one of Korean cultural diplomacy. In fact, there are several, government institutions who promoting Korean language under different ministry, and this is under the Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism. The role of foundation is designating and supporting, the institute around the world. Currently, they have 213 King-Sejong Institute in 76 countries. They do support with a standard curriculum, with various type of textbook and learning materials, both physical books and online materials. And they do have a mobile learning apps as well. And they do dispatch Korean language teachers and provide teacher training course online and offline. And annually, they do conduct a Korean educators conference. And also, they do provide cultural learning materials. And upon request from each institute, they do dispatch Korean cultural teachers who can teach traditional art or contemporary art or culture-related subject. And they do provide also student invitation programs each year. Our research setting is King-Sejong Institute, which is in Korea Plaza in KL. Korea Plaza is one-stop tourist service center, which is run under Korean Tourism Office. They do provide various tourism information and services and many complimentary classes to anyone who are interested in Korean language and Korean culture. In year 2014, they did expand the capacity of Korean language together with King-Sejong Institute. They have currently 8 classes in different 4 different level of basic Korean language course, and they do provide this course anyone who are interested free of charge. And upon the completion of the course, they will get the certificate. And currently, all the courses shift, into online classes. Moving on to the finding of survey. The first one is demography of the respondents. As you can see, mainly the female are learning Korean language in this institute, and their backgrounds are really wide in terms of age and then social background, from the students, school students, up to the retirees or housewife. But from this data, we can infer that young female Malaysians show high interest in learning Korean language. This is language level they are learning. It shows that students in this institute are mostly novice level, level 1 and level 2, about 70%. And as you can see here, when level higher, the dropout rate is increasing. So we presume the completion rate of the course from 1 to 4 is about 25%. This is possibly because maybe there's no commitment requirement from learners, as it is a complementary course, and learnings are all upon the free will of the learners. And other possible reason could be the sense of belonging might be lower. Okay, this data shows the mean score of the each questions on students' perception on peer community in online learning. And generally, the student in this institute has a quite positive, perception on learner-to-learner activities in online learning. And students, you can see here, high 4.1. That the students here, they felt a sense of community helps them engage better in online learning. And as you can see, a little bit lower score here is they prefer somehow, with a chose peer on their online activities. However, here about a little bit higher marks on the when they see the activities is for educational purpose, they don't mind to go get by with other peers. This is a result for the questions on students' perception on peer support in online learning. The students in this institute, they take the peer support in online learning important as it motivates them to complete tasks and also prevent from dropping out the course. However, interestingly here, the students would be least likely to ask for help from friends. Although earlier question, they perceive highly the collaborative learning make them more understand each other. So this contrast result can be answered from the region. Maybe they are in the novice level. Most of them are level 1 and level 2, so they prefer to ask directly to teachers. And also the possible reason could be they are not comfortable to ask each other, as maybe there are no social presence in online community of learning. In summary, we found KSI students perceive learner-to-learner engagement in online learning is highly important factor that preventing dropout and motivating themselves engage in their learning. And teachers conducting collaborative activities in the class also can influence positively in the students' social relationship. And students have somehow preference of having a learner to instructors interactions in their engagement when especially inquiries on subject matter arises. So the implication is quite clear that the instructor need to design their digital classroom that enables socializations. Instructor need more concern on this setting climate by promoting students' social engagement, preparing tasks involve collaborations, and show their presence regularly by facilitating the students' progress. Then students' learning outcome could be more increased and dropout rate could be reduced. I would like to end my presentation with a quote from Vanilla Rip. These student voices matter in designing digital classroom as well. Thank you.